Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back to another episode of Owning Your Sexual Self. We're talking all things skin today. Yes, you heard me. Skin care, and we're specifically talking to those in the perimenopause era of their lifelong journey. I have on today a guest with me, Dr. Mary Alice Mina, who is truly going to impact us today. She is a Harvard-trained, double board certified dermatologist and a procedural expert with nearly 2 decades of clinical experience and has been recognized time and time again as a top doctor in her field. She is the founder of The Skin Real and co-owner of Bachman Mina Derm Surgery, and she's championed a refreshingly honest and whole body approach to skincare, empowering women to confidently age and reconnect with themselves. And Dr. Mina also has a podcast which ranks in the top 2% worldwide, has resonated with thousands of midlife women seeking genuine confidence and clarity, and she's helping them break free from endless beauty routines and unreliable advice. And so her mission is to reach over 1 million women by the year of 2032. Happy to be a part of that with producing her on the show today and really working to teach them how self-care rooted in science and simplicity can restore joy, well-being, and self-love. So her real skin method uniquely positions her to spark conversations at the intersection of wellness, confidence, and a sexual self-acceptance. And so I think I'm so excited to hear about this real skin method that she speaks on. And without further ado, let's get this show on the road. Thank you so much again for listening. All right. Dr. Mina, thank you so much for coming on to the show today. It's so good to have you. I'm very excited to dive into this topic around skin health and your skin method.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. Really thrilled to be here. Love your podcast.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm curious when you first got into this, what I know we just talked briefly, like how did you get into podcasting? So I'd love to hear your story now that we're recording. What sparked your desire to take this approach into skincare?
Right. Yeah. A couple of years ago, I was, quite happy being a clinically practicing dermatologist and taking care of patients and busy and raising my family and really just like loving my practice. And then the pandemic hit. And all of a sudden, I wasn't going into the office as much, and I was sitting at home a lot. And I started really consuming podcasts myself, and also I turned 40, so it's sort of like two big momentous things happened. And I was getting a lot of my friends are turning 40, and we were noticing changes, and I'm listening to podcasts about it and all that. And what I realized is there wasn't a lot of really good information about skin health, specifically from dermatologists who are the medical doctors who take care of skin. There are a lot of, skinfluencers, people with a passion for skin, right? But I felt like a lot of that kind of skewed a little bit towards gimmicky and selling, products and things like that. And I felt like we really needed, especially like midlife women, needed a voice and needed to hear what's really going on with our skin and not just someone trying to sell you another product, or I say product, potion, procedure, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really when I got started doing it. And then I found out, you know what, I really love doing this. It's kind of like talking to patients, but amplified. I can reach more people on a wider level. And I'm just really on a mission to help people better understand their skin and not be so overwhelmed by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And noticing too that there's so many different like skin types and causes of why your skin might not look the way that you want it to. And so I think with working in more from the coming from the dermatology lens, you have more awareness and education that you can offer people on that versus these influencers. Essentially, I see them all the time too. And when I'm scrolling through social, like you need the castor oil, you need this calcium stick, you need Botox, you need this
Yeah.
red light therapy. There's so many things that's being thrown at us. And yeah, I would love to kind of get into maybe even some of those. Like what do we actually need for our skin? What do you as a dermatologist even recommend actually for our skin?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I call it the hot girl hamster wheel, right? And
Yeah.
it starts out really, for some it may be kind of insidious, right? Like you start maybe highlighting your hair and you're doing your nails and then you start Botox and then you start maybe a little filler and then you're doing laser hair removal and then you're doing dry brushing and then you're doing yoga, facial yoga. It's like all these things just add up, add up, add up, add up. And next thing you know, your whole day is spent on these like beauty tweaks and things that you think you have to do. And then you're paranoid to, stop any of them because you
Mm-hmm.
don't know like what's going to happen but what's really working, what's helping. And I see this all the time. I mean, I see people doing these incredibly elaborate routines and these like
Mm-hmm.
songs and dances and all this money. And even myself too, I have to like every sort of 6 months or so or year kind of think, okay, do I really want to be doing this? I ended up hating getting manicures and pedicures. And I was like, why am I doing this? So I've like stopped those, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be different for everyone. But yeah, it's this hot girl hamster wheel where we just keep adding on things because we're so afraid of what's going to happen if we age or if we don't do it. And we see all these beautiful people and we think, oh, okay, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. And
Mm-hmm.
it's overwhelming, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
feel and it's one thing if it's like moving the needle and you feel like you're getting amazing results, but I feel like 9 times out of 10, most people are like, I don't even like the results and I'm spinning
Mm-hmm.
my wheels. So
Mm-hmm.
I like to kind of just give people like let's do a hard reset, right?
Yeah.
And really at first, I think the first step is really doing an audit. Like if you're feeling overwhelmed with your skincare and your beauty to-dos,
Mm-hmm.
then do an audit. And that's not like fun and sexy, I get it, but try to write out all the things you do. Maybe it's over 3 months, maybe it's 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you don't feel like you do a lot, maybe it's a year, right? But just kind of like jot out each month or look at your calendar. Like, what am I doing each month? Or during the day, how much time am I spending on X, Y, and Z? And then give it a score, like 1 to 5 of how much you like it. So if you love doing it, like I love getting massages so much. Like I will do anything to get a 90-minute massage. I love it so much. I've never had a facial in my life. And it's not that I don't think they work or they're beneficial or whatever. It's just like that's not where I want to spend my time. So, your level of enjoyment matters. The
Mm-hmm.
cost matters, right? Like how
Mm-hmm.
much is that costing you? And then the frequency, right? Is this something you're doing every month, every 6 months, every day, right? And so you have to factor these things in. But I think just simply writing out all the things you're doing is pretty eye-opening for a lot of people. And then really just kind of not being afraid to cross out the stuff that really you don't love, it's expensive, and you dread doing it, and try to just stick with the things you really like. And this is where having a relationship with someone like a dermatologist, someone you trust
Mm-hmm.
for their aesthetic guidance can be helpful, who can guide you. Because people come to me all the time, they say, well, do I need this? Do I need that? I'm like, do I need Botox? Right? I'm like, nobody needs Botox. Do you want Botox? This is what I think it could do for your skin. Is that something you're interested in or not? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think also just learning, I talk about how do you create your skin habits? Well, you think about what your skin needs, and that's going to be, are you acne prone, eczema, dry skin, sensitive, et cetera. And then you think about your goals. And that's going to be different. And that's also going to change during different seasons of your life. And then you put those two together to get your habits, right? And so it's going to be different for everyone. But I would say most people I meet, they're doing too much and they really could pare it back significantly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I was not expecting that. I was thinking that it was going to be most people weren't doing enough. Like people were like, I don't have any skincare routine.
Well, there are those. That's my
Yeah.
husband, and they're certainly out there. I guess they're not coming to see me, right? But yeah, I would say the especially women I meet, and again, I'm a dermatologist, so maybe I'm skewed because they're coming to see me, or they're talking to me, or they're my friends, right? I find they're doing a lot, and
Mhm.
yeah, we talked before in the show how I just read this article in Business Insider called "Being Hot is Now a Job Requirement."
Mhm.
And so I think we're just going to keep seeing more of this, right? Because there's this pressure to look mature enough to be able to do your job, but to also still look young, right? You don't, because there is ageism in the workforce, right? So
Mhm.
this fine line of looking old enough that people take you seriously and give you respect, but not looking so old that they're going to want to, move you out of sales or marketing or whatever and find someone younger.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I'm glad that you spoke to that, the pressure that people, and I've heard it as, spoken as like the pretty privilege, and
Hmm.
that maybe that's a different avenue to go down. But I think that's also another thing that's adding to to the pressure. Like I have to look a certain way, I have to look put together. Um, yeah, I think, and especially with your skin, you're like I just think like we're so skin forward. Like that's some one of the first things that you would notice on a person
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're meeting them, right? Their face, what their face looks like, what their teeth look like, what their eyes look like all of those things, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Hair.
hair, yeah, all that.
Well, and they've actually done, because sometimes I think people think, oh, dermatology or skincare, it's just cosmetic, it's just aesthetic. You shouldn't care what you look like, all that. But I don't know, can't recall the exact statistics, but people make a first impression of you before you even open your mouth, right?
Hmm.
So they're
Hmm.
already looking at but not just also your physical appearance, but they're also looking at how you're standing, your posture, things like that. And they have done studies looking at people with acne, and they actually did it was computer generated acne. So they took these models and they took men, women, they took people with different skin tones, and they gave them different varying levels of acne, so mild, moderate, and severe.
Hmm.
And they showed random people these pictures and they asked them to rank them on, how much would you want to be their friend? How likable do you think they are? How much would you want to be in a Instagram post with them? How
Hmm.
intelligent do you think they are? And just by looking at the same people and just by changing the acne amount,
Hmm.
people who had more severe acne and who had darker skin and more severe acne were deemed less intelligent. I wouldn't want to be friends with this person. I wouldn't want to be seen with this person, right? And that's huge. That's so much more than just aesthetics, right? And a
Hmm.
cosmetic issue, right? That's going to affect someone's career placement, relationships, jobs, etc. So it is important, like it or not, right? Your appearance, how you appear, and present yourself. But at the same time, I think we also need to realize aging is natural, right?
Hmm.
And so really I'm all about like skin longevity, regeneration. How can I live as healthily as possible for as long as possible, including my skin? And I love that there does seem to be this sort of movement towards that rather than stamping out every line and wrinkle on your face and trying to look like you're still 25 when you're 60.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there is like not even realistic when I see
No,
those types of people.
no.
Um, Which to each their own, but you speak on something known as the real skin method or skin philosophy, and so I'd love to hear more about that and what that means.
Yeah, so absolutely. So I really hope when people like listen to me talk or listen to my podcast that they understand that our skin is more than just our face, right?
Hmm.
So often we think our skin is just our face, like neck up, like not even our neck really. And we think of it very outside inward, like what do I need to put on it? What do I need? What procedures, what regimen, what interventions, and really our skin is an organ system just like our nervous system, just like our endocrine system, our cardiovascular system. Like it's all connected and it all works in unison. And especially as there's this movement towards more functional medicine, holistic medicine, right? We can't just think of the skin as our face and we have to think of it as really reflecting the health of our inner body. So in with my real skin method, I really try to emphasize that our skin reflects our inner health. And so how we take care of our body, that is going to show up in our skin. And if you do nothing else, take care of your whole body because that is going to make your skin look 1,000 times better than what I could do with one syringe of filler or a little Botox, right?
Hmm.
So R is for reveal. So letting our skin is revealing our inner health if we actually take the time to look and open our eyes, right? It can tell us so much. That's another really cool thing about
Mm.
dermatology is we're kind of like detective. I can look at someone's nails and say, "Ooh, I think you've got some lung issues, and I'm going to send you to a pulmonologist." Or certain skin findings can actually be the first sign of issues with connective tissue disease or maybe problems in your blood vessels or eyes. So people people don't always make those connections. So that's where being a dermatologist is really fun because you get to see that stuff show up. So the E is for edit. So again, this goes back to sort of the hot girl hamster wheel, like
Mhm.
learning how to simplify and eliminate what isn't serving you and really just allowing your skincare routine and practices to really be unique to you and putting on blinders, not worrying about what the rest of the world is doing, what your
Mhm.
best friend's doing, what the Kardashians are doing, right? So simplifying and eliminating and canceling out the noise around you, which I know is really, really hard. So that's E. A is alignment, right? And you have to figure out, like, depending on what stage of life you're in, you're going to have different kind of, we talked about needs and goals, right? So your needs and goals are going to change based on what season of life you're in. When I was going through pregnancies and having little kids, that was very different from where I am now in my mid 40s, approaching menopause in my 50s or whenever. And so you need to be in alignment with your season of life and your values. And then L is love. So
Mhm.
many times we go through life just like criticizing ourselves. Like think about when was the last time you looked in the mirror and you were like, wow, I look amazing, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's not often we do that. Maybe someone tells you you look amazing or awesome, but when do you really tell yourself that? And it's really sad. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. Like I purposely like try to avoid mirrors so I don't have to like see a reflection that makes me not feel good about myself, right? So I think we all just need to have a little more self-compassion and love for ourselves and instead of always focusing on the negative. And so loving ourselves, loving whatever stage of life we're in, whatever season of life we're in, is so powerful. I mean, they've done studies to show that people who have a positive impression of aging or who approach it in a positive manner actually live 7 years longer, but not just longer, they live healthier 7 years.
Mhm.
So I think we need to kind of flip the script on, midlife, menopause. I used to think that was like you were like past your prime, the say goodbye to any vitality whatsoever. And now
Yeah.
I love seeing these like powerful, beautiful women in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Kind of rewriting what the second half of our lives can look like.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm in that camp too. I'm 37, so close to 40. A friend of mine that works in the space of menopause says that midlife is 35 and up. So I'm like, well, hello, I'm here. So but yeah, I'm lucky to have her as a close friend of mine because I've really adapted that mindset as well for myself and try to speak on that of the show. We've had many episodes on perimenopause and menopause and midlife magic and all of that. It does not have to be I think the one thing that we can count on in life is like we're going to age, right? We're
Right.
going to change. Our looks are going to change, and so yeah, I think adapting that, and I love that outlook too of like how we think about ourselves, how we think when we look at ourselves, how we speak to ourselves makes such an impact on this as well. And is it fair to say even that stress is a factor in how our skin
Oh,
looks, like you said, that inner body? So if I'm
yeah.
essentially talking shit to myself all day about my skin looks, what my body looks like that is not helping the cause. It's not getting us closer to our goals that we're wanting.
Right, exactly. And I see this all the time. Like, yes, some, beauty can be very subjective, but there are objective things that we do determine attractive and things like that. So I'll see these very objectively attractive people in my office, and they have such self-criticism and
Mhm.
self-hate, and they can't see it.
Mhm.
So even if you objectively on the outside like look like you should have it all together, if you haven't gotten it done the work mentally,
Mhm.
and if you're so stressed out about aging and everything like that, like you can't even see it. So so much again, it's we need to think about skin health as sort of inward outward as well, and not just okay, what topicals do I need to use, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and going back to what you said around your skin is more than just your face, it's your whole body. I'd love to transition into we were talking about the show about having a conversation around your what your vulvar skin looks like and
Yeah.
that being skin too. And I think too, going back to what you said, like our skin also can play into our sexual confidence and how we're showing up in intimacy and how we're allowing ourselves to be loved even. And so I'd love to hear more, yeah, just in that vulva skincare if we can go down that route.
Oh, yeah. And I could definitely talk about too, yeah, like how if you don't feel attractive and sexy, or you feel like you're only seeing lines and wrinkles, right? Like that's going to affect your intimate relationships and
Mhm.
putting yourself out there with your spouse, et cetera. So yeah, so I do like to talk about the vulva, and I know your audience knows what the vulva is, but
Yeah.
I am shocked how many people are like, what's a vulva, right? And I actually was recording a podcast talking about vulvar health. And my husband later was like, "You're not going to post that, are you?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You're saying vulva." I'm like, it's not a bad word. It's a
Yeah.
medical,
Like you
it's
say
a,
penis.
right. It's an anatomical part of a woman's body, right? But we feel like embarrassment and shame when we say that word or hear it.
Mhm.
But I joke that this is like no man's territory, or I should say no woman's territory. It is skin. So I do think this is skin. Like this is something you can talk about with your dermatologist. A lot of OBGYNs, maybe some feel very comfortable talking about vulvar health. And I certainly think let me restate that.
Mhm.
So I have frequently encountered OBGYNs who don't feel as comfortable managing sort of the outer part of the vulva and lesions that can be there, and they'll frequently send them to me. And so
Mhm.
I think sometimes this is no man's territory where the GYNs are like, no, no, that's skin, that's derm, and then the dermatologists are like, whoa, whoa, I'm not used to looking at vulvar skin. So I do think sometimes women get sort of ping ponged around. And again, this is an area we don't always want to voluntarily say, hey, I'm having some problems here. But I've kind of gone on this like deep dive on perimenopause, and I'm getting a lot of questions about estrogen cream for the
Mhm.
face.
Mhm.
And so I started looking into, okay, what's the data, what's the literature, and what I've now realized is actually topical estrogen is so critical for our vulvar skin, and we have really, really good data to back that up. That our vulvar skin, whether you're on systemic hormones or not, it still needs supplementation with vaginal estrogen. And now we actually have some other options if vaginal estrogen is not an option for you. There are inserts, there's DHEA, there's ospemifene. I hope I'm saying that correctly. So there are some other options if vaginal estrogen is not your jam or whatever. But vaginal estrogen, it's like $30 a tube. It is, and it's truly life saving. And I think people think, oh, vaginal estrogen, it's only important if you're having sex. But no.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
any woman, really any woman, perimenopause and beyond can be on it. I could put my 102-year-old grandma on it because it is life saving from a perspective of preventing UTIs,
Mhm.
which I remember still being an intern and seeing a patient in the ICU who was septic, I mean, near death because of a UTI. And I thought, a UTI? Like, aren't these just like irritable, or aren't these just like annoyances and just bothersome? Like someone could truly die from a UTI. But yes, like that is facts.
Wow.
And postmenopausal women are at a double increased chance of getting UTIs because that skin around the urethra doesn't have estrogen receptors anymore. It starts to change, and the pH in our vulvar vaginal area goes from being acidic to alkaline, right? So all these changes are happening. The skin becomes less plump, it's dry, it's irritated, it's itchy, right? All these things that we also see in our facial skin, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
so really now I am like not afraid to talk about vaginal estrogen with my patients. Maybe they're coming in wanting me to talk about it for their face, but I'm like, wait a minute. Are you using it on your vulvar skin? Because you
Mhm.
should, right?
Yeah.
And the great news is it's very safe. I mean, you can talk about it with your oncologist, your GYN if you want. But this does not have systemic absorption, and it really is such a safe, affordable, and well studied medication that's really life changing for women. So I would say if you're thinking about putting it on your face, make sure you're also putting it on your vulvar skin. And then to speak to that, yes, go ahead and put some on your face. I will say we do not have great studies on it at this point. Most of the studies have been done by companies that are making
Mhm.
estriol cream. And some of the studies we have, although they're almost 20 years old, have shown that it actually works better on sun protected skin. So again, we still need a lot of data to say definitively, yes, estrogen cream on your face is beneficial and helpful. But the way I see it is, what's the harm in
Mhm.
trying it? I know it helps vulvar skin. I know our skin on our face has estrogen receptors. And so if you're using it on your vulvar skin, sure, go ahead and put a little bit on your face, your neck, tops of your hands. I don't see a problem with it. But yes, the caveat is we need more studies, right? Like we need more
Mhm.
studies in all of this sort of menopause space as well.
Yeah. And what does it actually do for, if we can speak on that, whether no matter like where you're applying it to, what does the estrogen creams actually do for a person?
Yeah, so speaking specifically for your skin health, so our skin has estrogen receptors. The keratinocytes that make up the skin cells, our skin barrier, our blood vessels have estrogen receptors, our fat, our muscles, our bone, all of these have estrogen receptors. And guess what? When you lose estrogen and your bone starts to resorb and your muscles start to atrophy and become smaller and you have fat displacement and you're losing collagen because the fibroblasts no longer have estrogen to support them. All that's where we start to see like your whole face start to fall and sag, right?
Mhm.
And so and again, topical estrogen in theory would help increase the plumpness of the skin. It would help increase collagen, which has been shown, especially in sun protected skin, that it actually does boost collagen production. It can help with your blood vessels, so you have less flushing of the face, less kind of dyspigmentation, right? So it works on all these cells, and so again, we need more studies to show. But I think of estrogen especially being powerful with our hair and collagen, and that's where I think most people notice the changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, this, I think this is the first time we've had this conversation on the show. So I would love to know, for somebody that is looking for, how do I want to word this? Who would come see a dermatologist for vulvar specific skin health? Like what kinds of things would you see somebody coming into your office for?
Yeah, so a lot of times I do a lot of surgery. So a lot of times it's a
Mhm.
cyst.
Mm.
They have a lump or a bump in the skin that they're concerned about, and the GYN is like, that's not really my region, and they come to me. But a lot of times, or another I don't want to say common, but another skin condition we see is lichen sclerosis, and
Mhm.
this can be tricky because you can get itching and dryness of the skin. It starts to scar. Sex can be painful, and these are also things that can happen with the genitourinary syndrome of menopause, GSM. And so usually they've already seen their GYN about these issues. And then if they're like, hey, it looks like lichen sclerosis, which is scarring and has a typical appearance, then they might come see a GYN or they might come see their dermatologist. But what I find is when I'm just talking to women in midlife about just overall skin health, I do talk about estrogen and the importance of estrogen. And I like to let them know, hey, it's totally your choice, but I want women to know what their options are. And I want them to know what the most accurate current data says.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of doctors aren't talking to their midlife women patients about this. So if they're coming to me talking about skin health and their midlife, it's only natural. We're talking about perimenopause and estrogen, how estrogen affects the skin. And then I'll say, oh, well, hey, by the way, it also, your vulva is skin. Do you know where your vulva is? Right.
Mhm.
And a lot of times they don't know. And I just actually had a staff member tell me, I'm not going to do hormone replacement therapy. I didn't like how it makes me feel. So I told my GYN I'm not going to do it. And I said, okay, great. I'm glad you tried it. I'm glad you feel good about your decision. But you also can be on vaginal estrogen. They're not mutually exclusive.
Mm.
And I think this is something you should consider as well. So that's kind of how it comes up. And I just think there are too few doctors in the world. And it's because we didn't train learning about menopause. Like I trained in the mid 2000s and we weren't talking
Mhm.
about this. And the only thing we heard about hormone replacement therapy is that it was bad and dangerous. And so it kind of was like, okay, you hit menopause, well, that's it. Go,
Yep. You had
next.
a good
And
run.
so yeah, and so I think there's this idea that, oh, all these doctors know about it, but they don't. You have to really seek it out. So, yes, I'm a dermatologist. I'm not going to be necessarily writing your hormone replacement medication, but I'm certainly going to be able to have an educated conversation with you about it
Mhm.
and my thoughts and how that impacts your skin and certainly vulvar health. So
Mhm.
I think just as doctors, we need to learn like not to be afraid to talk about this. We've really left my mom's generation of women like high and dry in this
Mhm.
matter. And I love that let's see, the Gen Xers and millennials are like, that we're not going out like that.
Yeah. I had a friend and a colleague of mine recently. She's like, yeah, like our parents were just out there raw dogging menopause, like
Yeah,
no HRT, like no estrogen, like just not doing anything. So yeah,
right.
I'm very appreciative to bring this conversation to light. I think more people need to. And yeah, I feel I know that you have a podcast, so I'd love to hear more about that. So for people that are wanting more information on this and wanting more ongoing conversation, we'll share that in a minute. But I'd love to just as we're wrapping here, what is one mindset shift that women could make this week after listening to this episode?
Gosh, I would say that the mindset shift is aging is not the enemy, and to really embrace it. And there's so much good that comes with being, having more confidence, being wiser, and having, all your life experiences. So I think just kind of reframing, like getting older isn't necessarily the enemy. It's how do I live as healthfully as possible, and truly, if you have this sort of positive outlook and mindset and you're taking care of your body, I promise you, your skin is going to look better just from doing that. And then you can come see your dermatologist for like the last like 5 to 10%, right? But I think again, like so much in life, it's mindset, right? And just deciding like, I'm not going to let aging make me sad, depressed, bitter, whatever. And just really being like, oh my gosh, like I'm 45. I can't wait for the next 5 years and the next 5 years and the next 5 years. And I get it. It like every day is not like Pollyanna. I'm super excited, right?
Yeah.
We're human, but again, just I think just allowing yourself, like I can be midlife and I can still be a vibrant, attractive woman or man is key.
Absolutely. And then I'm curious, is there any skincare habit that you're like, what like we gotta let this go. Like stop doing that. Is there any like pet peeve that you have around a habit?
Gosh, I would say, and I love that we've done this whole episode, and I have like not even talked about topical products other than vaginal estrogen. But I'll just give a plug because I know some people are like, just tell me what to
What to
use.
do, yeah.
And I would just say gentle cleanser, sunscreen. You have to wear sunscreen and SPF. If you just do that, your skin will be phenomenal. And maybe throw in a retinoid and antioxidant if you want to be a little extra. That's what I do.
hmm
Okay, you were asking me, oh, what do I want to see go away? I want to see these like trends, these like viral trends. I want them to go away.
hmm
Which I know is like not possible, but thinking like, oh, beef tallow, beef tallow. Oh, now it's snail mucin, now
Oh
it's
yeah.
all these things. Oh, got to do this, got to do that. Like it's too much, and maybe some of these treatments might have some benefit, maybe for some people, but also using just plain old CeraVe moisturizer from the drugstore is also really, really good and amazing, right? So
hmm
you don't have to follow every trend. What I say is find something and stick with it. I've been using the Dove Beauty Bar cleanser, which is like, I call it soap, but they don't like me to say soap. And I've been using, I mean, because it sounds like it's so basic, and I've been
Yeah.
using that for literally decades. And trust me, people send me cleansers and all these things, and I'll try them, and I'm like, look, the Dove Beauty Bar, it's face, it's neck, it's body, it hits all the marks. It's affordable, it's gentle.
hmm
So I'm like, why do I have to switch it, right? It's maybe it's not sexy, but hey, like I haven't gotten any complaints about my skin. So if you
Mhm.
find something and it works for you and you like it and you're getting the results you like, don't feel like you've got to like jump, catch the next shiny object, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and I think just there's so many gimmicks and hype out there. Like I actually just had someone text me right now, like, what do you think about peptide facials? And I'm like, okay, like that's a
Mhm.
huge, like, what do you mean by a peptide
Yeah.
facial? Which peptide are you referring to, right? But obviously she saw something, a video, peptide facials, this is the way to go, da da da. So again, just being aware that of a lot of the marketing, the gimmicks, the hype that's out there. You
Mhm.
don't need to try everything. And again, just sometimes less is more.
Yeah, I think letting that be permission maybe for some people that are listening. I see the like the viral reels of the morning shed and they're taking off their mask and like
My
all the things and like
gosh.
gosh, yeah, like I do my skincare and I just added in castor oil to try that to help with moisturizing and collagen and all that stuff and I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna use it until my little ball is out and then we'll reconvene at that after that.
Yeah, yeah, those are crazy. I'm like, wow, I don't know how someone could sleep like that, but yeah. I mean, but I see it. My children are 11 and 12, and
Yeah.
they do more beauty routine stuff than me. Now, I get it. When I was their age, I think I was playing around with stuff too. But they'll come out of their bathroom and they've got like under eye patches on and all this. I'm like, you guys have like the most collagen
I
you're
know, I'm
ever
like
going
you're
to have in your
11.
life. And you're worried about your under eyes and your cheeks and all that. It's crazy. But and it's just it's amazing how even without phones and iPads, like this gets to them. They see it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So yeah, it can be tricky.
Yeah. Well, thank you again so much, Dr. Mina, for coming onto the show today and bringing this information to our listeners. And yeah, I would love to hear this if people want to plug in more to your content and follow you and listen to your podcast. Please, yeah, tell us how to find you.
Yes, absolutely. So the podcast is called The Skin Real. In this day and age, I have to spell real. So REAL, like real information. And yeah, I talk about, really kind of anything and everything skin health.
Hmm.
And if you are wondering how to create healthy skin habits, I kind of touched on that earlier. I have a little gift you can get. It's if you go to hi.theskinreal.com/habits, and I'll send that to you in your email.
Sure. Yeah, we'll make sure to link that in the show notes too. And I also saw you had a something like a 5-day challenge for
Yes.
perimenopause,
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Could you tell us more about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's quick little videos that you can get on your phone, just giving you little reminders about things to think about in perimenopause, some challenges you may be having, and just to kind of let you know you're not alone and I'm right there with you. So yeah, it's a free challenge, and you can go to my website, theskinreal.com, and you can find that little challenge, and it's free, and you'll get a little video from me for 5 days in to your phone.
Wonderful. Love that. Well, thank you again, yeah, so much for coming on, and it was a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Always fun.